by first setting up all the geometry that we need and then move forward with the effects. So in order to bring our camera, which is a USD asset, first we are going to have to import it at the LOPS, at the stage context. So let's hold down N and drop over to the LOPS stage. And I'll just rebuild this entire chain here over to the right. We will start with a sublayer. Let's go ahead and preview this, and I will actually rename this to, let's do just simply cam. So let's point our file to our cam USD asset, which again is going to be available in the download. So this is going to be the cam.usd. Here we have it. And we might as well just bring in our helmet USD as well. Let's just do another sublayer and let's rename this to helmet. Let's bring in our helmet.usd, and we can see, you should be seeing the textures as well. Just make sure that the texture display is on. So we can simply merge these two together, and this is what we are going to start with. If we go over here to the cam view, we should have our camera animation. So everything is working fine. We are going to later come back to this after we have everything we need, but for now this will be all that we are going to do in the stage context. So I'm gonna go ahead, because we need to reference this node. Let's go ahead and Control C, go over to the object context. So at SOPs, we'll do a LOP camera import, or rather LOP import camera, and the LOP path should be this sublayer that we have. So I'm just going to paste this here, and for primitive path I'm just gonna do a star, which is going to select the default path that we have. And now let's also do a geometry container and bring in the helmet at the sub level as well. This will be geo underscore helmet. Let's step inside and we will do a USD import, and again we are going to grab the same file, this helmet.usd. And for some reason this has some sort of animation to this, and this might be because I haven't saved this out correctly. We can see we have this green watch here that indicates that it's computing at each frame, so we don't want this. But really an easy fix for this is to just do a time shift after our node, and I will just freeze this at frame 1. And if we were to just use this as it is with this green watch icon here, this would mean that every other operation that we do afterwards is going to have to recompute, which is not optimal at all. Let's also go back to our USD import and let's unpack this, and let's select polygon so we have access to all of the attributes that we need and the primitives. We'll leave this as it is for now. In fact, I'm going to drop down a null and let's rename this to geo underscore helmets so we can point to this later. We can go straight ahead now and create our ground as well. Let's go up, do another geo container, and this will be our geo grnd for ground. Let's step inside, drop down a simple grid, and let's show all objects. And if I press Shift W, let's increase the resolutions here. Let's use something like 200 by 200. And in fact, I'm going to use the settings that I used originally, which is a size of 25 by 25. And let's increase the rows and columns to 500 by 500. This will give us enough resolution for our initial displacement, but a lot of the detail we are going to achieve by geometry dicing at the render level. So we are going to use fractal noises from Material X to displace our geometry even further and really create those super fine details and spikes that's going to really make this material look like actual snow. But we still don't want to be working with a flat plane as far as the base geometry is concerned. So this is why we do need some resolution so we can displace it a little bit as a base. Let's go ahead and add a UV texture to this, and the default settings will be fine over here. As we can see, you can turn on the UV display over here, so we can go straight ahead and add a mountain node. And really, I'm going to use much of these default settings. I'm just going to increase the element size slightly, and I can play around with the offset to get a better seed. So something that fits a little bit better with our geometry, something like this. Let's maybe go to our camera view and let's take a look. So I think I'm already pretty happy with this. I might want to increase the element size even more, maybe increase the amplitude, but not so much. Let's drop this down. Let's actually use 0.25. Like I said, we are going to use a lot of displacements in the material, so we just really want a good base start. Maybe just play around with the offset even more, just so our helmet is sinking into the snow a lot more nicely. So I'm just gonna find a value here that works, so something like this will be fine. You can see I'm really just eyeballing these settings. There is an extra step that we have to do here by creating an actual volume out of this geometry, so it's a filled mesh. And we are going to do this a bit later when we get to rendering, because I want to show you the difference between the effect that we get if we have this extruded volume or just a simple flat grid, because there's going to be quite a difference between the two. Let's just go ahead and grab all of these layers, or rather nodes, and just duplicate them over to the side. And for this grid, I'm going to press enter and just move this back, and probably just scale this slightly. Let's also preview this as well. Let's template this so we can see both at the same time, and I'm just going to increase this. We can probably look through our camera. I'll press Ctrl 2 to switch to a dual view like so we can adjust this in the perspective and also see this in the camera view. So really I'm just going to, let's maybe drop this down slightly, and I just want to cover the size of the camera here so it's not clipped in our camera view. I can grab this mountain node and press W so we have a flat view, and let's disable the UVs for now, and I think something like this will be fine. I might want to increase the amplitude for this and increase the element size as well, and maybe change the offset. So we end up with something like this. Let's go ahead and merge these two by holding Alt, and let's drop down a null, and this will be our out GRND. And for now this will be fine. We are going to readjust some of these values when we do the rendering, like I said. But with this we more or less have all of the geometry that we need, and we can move forward and start creating the branching effects.